those days, maybe governments were the one who controlled the factories. So it made sense for them to train as many people as possible to come and manage the factories. Now government cannot, they are not the biggest, well, in some countries they are the biggest employers, but in some countries they are not. So obviously they need many more people to come through, build their own businesses, and be able to employ other people. I mean, I don't know what you think about that.
So that's such a big discussion, but
Everything is a big
everything is a
discussion,
big
right?
discussion. Look, the bottom line is that however you look at it, any way you look at it, hey, thanks for watching this clip. To see the full conversation, please click the link in the description. The focus of education is not on the individual, not on individual achieving self-actualization and finding their purpose and following their inner sort of drive, following their inner compass. It's not about that. Whether you want to call it career guidance or propaganda, or you want to call it future fit, there's fancy names for it. All of it at the end of the day is how can we take you and mold you so that you can fit into the system. Whether the system is the Industrial Revolution, whether it's the fourth Industrial Revolution or whatever it is, the emphasis seems to be for the most part. The only people who get away with this are very wealthy people. They have an education in the arts and in deep things, like things that in Africa at least we kind of look down on because they're not useful, right? But these are the thinking things. These are the humanities, the social sciences.
Yeah.
Only very wealthy people have a good education in those things. And you'll be surprised now they are the same people who end up again wealthy like their parents were. Even whether they inherited their wealth or not. I mean, there's a lot of things at play, but the fact that they are taught to think has something to do with it, whereas we are taught to do. By we, I mean us, the poors.
I know.
Yeah. So my point is that education systems in general, definitely in Africa, are explicitly geared towards making you ready for the working world, essentially.
Simple.
Which is just a politically correct or nice way of saying we need you to do something, so we're going to shape you in order for the end of you doing something for the economy or for the country or whatever the case. As compared to what are you interested in? What do you like? Where are your talents, your passions? How can we help you refine those and fulfill those deeper? And then you don't have to force anyone to learn. I mean, if you think of kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, which is kind of where human beings die, it's like 4 or 5 years old, they will follow their interests and their passions like crazy, to an extent where sometimes you have to restrain them, right? Because they're curious about everything about the world and they follow it. And then they go to school and they're told, no, sit down and keep quiet and listen to the teacher who will hand you down the knowledge that you need to know. And if you don't know it, you need to work on it so that you know it. And if the way it's handed down to you doesn't work well with the way you think, you are the problem. If you're not scoring well in the test, you are the problem. Not because you are supposed to work to fit the system, not the other way around. Do you see what I mean?
That's something. That's something. And as a parent, as a parent who wants to start thinking, or at least I want to believe I'm beginning to think.
Yeah.
And I want to raise kids who think for themselves, not necessarily. And I want them to even be able to defy me and tell me, no, Dad, what you're doing, what you're asking me to do doesn't make sense for these reasons. That, and that. It's scary because you think, oh, arithmetic is necessary. Understanding basic science is necessary. And not leave them to constantly want to just play in the mud or role play certain things that you think are silly. You know? But at what point do you say kids should just continuously explore without shaping them? Because their exploration is actually going to be a place where they are going to discover themselves. I don't have the answer for that.
It's a very tricky thing and a very complicated thing, because if you decide to do it that way, you are by definition working outside the system. So there's no support for you. There's minimal support for you. So you're on your own. So either you have a lot of money and you can afford to, completely pay 100% attention, or get people who can pay so much attention on the kid that you don't need to distract them with YouTube or whatever. Or they have a means to activate and to find out the things they're curious about. So that's a big mindset shift to begin with. Logistically, it's difficult because you have no support system. But I think the mindset is the more important one, because I think if you're convinced that it has to be that way, you will find a way to enable
to make that happen. Yeah.
And the mindset I think is helpful in that scenario is to say, I actually wrote a manifesto when my daughter was born, but I lost it. It was on my phone and my phone died. But basically, the idea was, I don't see parenting as an I own you, or you belong to me, you're my child, but that my in that sentence doesn't work the same as my car in my head. It's more of God or evolution or whatever has given me this person to look after and enable and allow to become a person. So my job is to facilitate as much as possible whatever they're interested in and guide them, because there are many times where you go down a rabbit hole that's either going to waste your time or worse, going to cause difficulty to you, or to make it difficult for you in the world.
True.
Right? So to the extent possible, my job is to guide you and warn you or alert you of potential dangers, help you to think, basically, help you to think through anything, help you to learn how to learn, essentially.
Yeah.
And then let you choose what it is you will use that on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the CEO summary. But the ops manager doesn't know how to do that.
And I guess the ops manager himself has to do, or herself has to find reach this goal through some form of experimentation, right? Because there is no clear path. There is no blueprint to say, okay, I'm going to follow and do this and that and that. It's really, stick a finger in the wind and see where, that kind of thing.
If you made it this far, maybe you want to see the rest of the conversation. Please click the link in the description and you'll be taken to the full video.